Enshrouded has already established kind of a unique setting to survival games. You awaken a pod of an ancient civilization that the ancestors placed you in for kind of a stasis or a long sleep. Now, this game doesn't have a very strong tutorial. You're kind of just meant to go out and explore it, but the idea is that you're kind of a chosen one, the Flameborn. As you head outside your world, you behold or your cave, you behold a beautiful world. However, there's no civilization awaiting you. It's all dead. Down beneath the depths of the world is a pestilence called the Shroud. Supposedly, that's what happened to your ancestors. Whenever you're in any kind of survival situation, you need to secure water, shelter, and food. Those are the three tiers to thriving. So let's talk about food and water. Food and drinks do not work like they do in a standard survival game in this. You're not going to die of starvation, you're not going to die of dehydration, and you're not going to get sick if you don't nurture those.
Is it completely disabling the fact that you can starve or die of thirst? Or is it like, it takes forever for you to die of food and water?
It completely disables it. It basically, they wanted a game that was for the hardcore player and the casual player. So if all you want to do is build, like in Minecraft, that's all you want to do, it gives those players the option to do that because they don't have to worry about their stats as much. And the way that the game balances it out is if you don't eat, drink, or sleep before you go into battle, you're going to be heavily weakened. So you get buffs, much like Valheim, when you eat or drink.
I don't like it. See, one of the things about food and water is it's not just about keeping your fires healthy, it's also about keeping your crafters and your resource gatherers happy. And then, like you said, builders. If I'm building all the time for my group, and I never have to worry about food, and I never have to worry about combat, I'm not one of the resource drains on our team.
Well, that's the beautiful thing about this game. Would you like to carry 2 stones at a time or 30 stones at a time? That takes stamina. Same with jumping up to places to finish your build. And if you want the stamina to be able to do all of that, you will have to eat and drink to make sure that's up. But you're not going to die if you're just doing light work. So in a way, if you're farming, you don't have to worry about it too much. You could just skip eating. But if you're on a 4th story of a giant tower you're building, you should probably eat and drink because you're going to be carrying a lot of supplies from the bottom to the top.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and it's definitely a interesting take on it. I won't say that it's good or bad until I actually get to experience it.
This is a compelling action RPG that has a tremendous skill tree. Basically, there are skills that spider out, much like in the Assassin's Creed games. You have your core bubble, and then you can go out and grab whatever you need. And on 1/3 of it are warrior-based skills, on another third are mage-based skills, and on another third are ranger-based skills. So you can mix and match your abilities to craft the character that you want. This game's also like Assassin's Creed. You can crouch in bushes, and then like your character glows because you're hidden, and you could pop out and attack an enemy and bring them down. It's nice to see that kind of stealth play for players who want to do that.
It's cool because it actually attaches yourself to the character. Skill progression matters in a RPG, and amazingly will matter in a survival RPG. People want to feel that progression. That's why most survival-based games have a crafting system, and that crafting system is based upon unlocks or tech trees, as they call them. Because it feels good to advance and get better. And so this is really cool that the skill tree also allows you to do that in combat. Because most survival games don't really do that for combat very well.
Right, because if you're a camp mom, you get the beauty of that tech tree, that feeling of progress. But if you're a combat specialist and you do a lot of scouting, you really don't get anything from it. So it'd be nice to see that come to play. Combat is actually quite simple. You could target an enemy. You can use your magic, your ranged, or like I saw explosives, but the combat is simple. You can block attacks with your shield, and you can keep blocking the attacks with your shield, but every time you do, it takes stamina. Once you're out of stamina, you open yourself up for what they call a massive attack or a critical hit. But the same kind of works against the enemies. You can also wear them down by hitting on their shield and getting their stamina down, opening them up. And if you're not a sword and board player, that's okay too. If you're a wizard and all you've got is a staff, you can parry an attack. But the coordination with your team in battle, knowing how to dodge, knowing how to weave, getting attacks in when you can, all while monitoring your overall stamina, is incredibly important to make combat itself valuable, to make the system fun. One of the things that I think is very important about Enshrouded that I feel games like even Minecraft kind of miss the mark on. Minecraft definitely has terraforming, but it's by meter blocks. But it is voxel based. So if you've played, think about Minecraft and think about Space Engineers and kind of meet halfway. And that's what this game is looking like it's going to behave as. And the beautiful thing about this is you can start sculpting down to like 6-inch by 6-inch blocks and really carve the scenery out to look like how you want it. And there's really cool time-lapse videos that you can see on Enshrouded where they've completely made this really cool canyon-style cliffside base. And it doesn't just look like squares. They were able to round the rocks and add texture to them and make it look like it was there originally, which is really neat.
So I've seen the videos you talked about, the time lapses and how they destroy the terrain. And one of the things I like about this is in other terrain destroying games I've seen, you use a pickaxe and you get like this really rough, jagged looking area and you can't really smooth it out. They actually provide what looks like the cubes like you're talking about, but you can actually create them quite big to create really flat areas. It's a lot, like you said, easier to control how you terraform the terrain to your liking. And I love that fact.
But the building detail on this game, my God, it's so good. I've seen cities look like an Italian villa. But I think where that wins its success is that you don't just build a wall with a window in it. You build a stone wall, you can carve arrow slits instead of normal windows, or you can make big grand windows if you would prefer to have your castle look kind of like the Red Keep in Game of Thrones, where there's walkways and arches. They even have arches that once you carve out the basic hole, you could choose a design for your archway. And it's all really, really well done. Allows you to get in there and just carve out those tiny little details. Let's talk about the Shroud a little bit. The Shroud is a decaying pestilence unleashed from the depths of the planet and mutates the life force of anything trapped inside. So it's not like demons as much as it's mutated creatures. And that's where you find the civilization that you were supposed to wake up to. They have been succumbed to the Shroud. You really feel alone until you start recruiting those other NPCs and doing the work for them.
This area is kind of like dungeon delving, if you can think of it like that. The people who are down here don't always stay down there. There is a possibility that they may come wandering out.
And if you watch some of the combat videos, Dumb is absolutely right. When you're in the Shroud, it says in the Shroud up at the top, and you have a bunch of effects that can hurt you while you're down there. However, there are still enshrouded creatures that set up settlements on the above world. They're just not nearly as powerful as the shrouded or enshrouded within the shroud itself. So they give you kind of that degree of difficulty. You need new gear and resources. You could destroy those camps. If you want to plunge into the dungeons, you can go get more.